Greetings and aloha, what's going on? It's Mike's with Gracie from LiveMyAssOff.com, and I'm here all the way at the end of Kamala Beach, in an area that I come to frequently when I'm in Kamala Beach. Bunch of rocks here, and when the tide is essentially out, I get to come here and hang out on this rock where so like my first trip basically to Phuket in 2015, I think, I stayed in Patong for a few nights and then took the tuk-tuk mafia. I think it was like at least 500 baht from Patong up to Kamala to like chill out, and I walked on this beach. This was also way over there, you can't see it from this camera, but way over there, there are those tents that are basically massage opportunities at the beach. And I got my first massage underneath a palm tree during sunset. I have no idea how much it cost, didn't matter. It was awesome. And anyway, so many great memories of Kamala Beach from, you know, 6 and 7 years ago, as well as 6 and 7 weeks ago, quite frankly. And but when I come here, I always reflect on probably at least 3 or 4 things, and one of them is the first time I was here, and how the first time I was here, I was absolutely on vacation and from work, and I didn't have a I had a very finite amount of time. From here, I actually ended up, I was gonna spend New Year's Eve here with a buddy who's now my business partner, Ed. He came down to Phuket and we hung out for a while. I was gonna spend New Year's Eve here, but like on the 30th, my buddy Eddie, I want to say, well, he didn't break his leg, but he certainly like damaged the bone that goes between your knee and your ankle. I don't know if he broke that, but I know he was in a cast, but it was a walking cast. So anyway, regardless, he fell on a motorbike, and he's about 60, and he was not in great shape. And so I thought, all right, well, so anyway, so I flew from here to Utapao and spent the next several days in Pattaya just hanging out with him, and it turns out he was fine. But of course, you know, the initial sort of shock as well as pain, I'm quite certain, of falling on a motorbike in the middle of the hills around Pattaya. And it was an off-road bike, so he was like up in the hills, and so he wasn't like up at Pratanamnak Hill on a motorbike going to Big Buddha. He was like up in the woods, and so where he fell was he explained it to me, and I believe him when he tells me it was very painful when he left, when he was forced to effectively walk back or limp back with his off-road bike. So anyway, I had a finite amount of time here, and it turned out to be even less time than I'd planned. And but one of the things that I did when I was on this rock, looking out over this 5, 6, 7 years ago, however much it was, look at Gracie, she's awesome over there in her tree. I would be concerned about sitting on that, actually. I might think it would break over my weight, but I think she's good. But you know, I think about like goals, right? Because I know one of the thoughts I had when I was here, when I was first here, when I was on vacation, when I wasn't living in Thailand for sure, was, you know, how do I make this happen for one more day, one more week, one more month, one more year in a row? And I had absolutely no idea. You know, I mean, I was trying to think like what my thoughts were when I first came to Thailand, because when I came to Phuket, it was my second year coming to Thailand. My first trip to Thailand was like, you know, the standard Christmas break, right? New Year's Eve. So like, you know, middle of December, middle of January kind of thing. 3 weeks, my first trip, and then on the way home, 1 week in Maui. The 3 weeks in Thailand, even though I was like a full-on, the infamous 2-week millionaire, you know, those 3 weeks in Thailand, I spent less than I spent the entire 1 week in Maui. Now in Maui, I had to rent a car because you can't really get around. And, you know, but obviously the accommodations in Maui are expensive, as is food. And But you know, that I was grateful for that experience because it was an immediate contrast. Because you know, it's like you can have this euphoric recall of like, oh my God, I really loved Maui, and then like 90 days later, or 6 months, or even a year later, you think, I don't remember it really being expensive there. I should go back there and I should live there. Although 1 week after you leave Maui, I was keenly aware of the cost of living in Maui compared to Thailand. So I do that, right? And then, like, I mean, I told you guys my story, and you can listen to the Why Thailand series of videos of why I came here, how I stayed here, or how I decided to come here permanently and why. But I had no idea, like, how I was gonna make. I mean, it was the only place ever in my life where I'd gone on vacation, and then less than 90 days later, I went back on vacation. I've never done that before, and I've loved places I've gone on vacation, and I've even had vacation days 90 days later. I didn't have a month off and then 90 days later have 2 weeks off. That was, higher education is awesome for that reason, and a number of other reasons, quite frankly. But you get a lot of time off, you get a lot of great benefits. You don't make a lot of money, but I had a great time. My job was the best job I ever had with the best boss I ever had until both of those things were not that. And then Thailand became an absolute option, which it now is not an option, it's my life. But I had no idea how I was gonna like be able to do this, like on a friggin' Thursday, you know, with, well, I hadn't even met Gracie yet. I didn't even know that was possible. Look at that hair. That's awesome. Her hair is longer than her legs, I think, actually. She's got a meter of hair. It's a minimum requirement for me. What do you like in women? Well, they have to have a meter of hair. Anything else? Nope. No. Yeah, don't fall, dude. Absolutely. She's great. That's an understatement, isn't it? I just like, I guess my point to this video is that I had absolutely no idea I was going to get from here in 2015 to here in in 2019 when I first moved here permanently. And I mean, think about it, guys, that's only like 4 years. But in that time, I met Gracie, and I went to Vietnam, and she and I went to Vietnam. We went to Malaysia, we went to, well, obviously the Philippines, that's where we met. But we traveled in the Philippines some, and went to places in the Philippines she had never been before, and certainly I had never been before, but, you know, she's come to America a couple of times. And, you know, and now we live here. And I mean, I think back on, like, because I'll tell you something, I'm a huge fan of goals. I'm a huge fan of dreaming. I'm a huge fan of fantasizing about how to make stuff happen. One of the things I loved in my job at IT was when people are like, oh yeah, Mike, that's not possible. We can't make that happen. I'm like, well, you just gave me quite the motivation to do it then. And I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm defiant, you know, maybe I'm like, maybe I like sticking it to the man. So therefore, when people say I can't do something with specifically technology, then I try even harder, I don't know. But no one ever told me like I couldn't move to Thailand. They just sort of said, well, you can't do it yet. Like you have to wait till you're 65, or you have to wait till you're 70, or you have to wait till you, you know, or you're 59 and a half, right? The magic number when you withdraw stuff from your Roth and it doesn't really cost any money kind of thing. Anyway, all of those sort of points in time that I think a lot of us in the United States look at. And it seems like that number in Thailand is 60. It seems like a lot of people sort of agree that when you're 60, you retire in Thailand. I don't know if that's been your experience, or if there's anyone watching this from Thailand that's like, oh yeah, no, we grow up and we're like, yeah, you work really hard, or you go to school, you start a business, or you open up whatever, or you have a shop, and then, you know, you work and then when you're 60, then you retire, and your younger family members or the people that you sort of appoint in your business, they take over for you. I don't know if that's the case, but and I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll be making videos 5-10 years from now and be like, oh my god, I was so naive back in 2021. I had no idea I should have done this, or I could have done this, or you know, I'm pretty certain 10 years from now I'm not going to look back and say, boy, I really wish I bought real estate, because real estate, yeah, it's really sexy to look back 10 years and say, yeah, had I bought that piece of whatever, condo, property, land, farmhouse, 10 years now, I'd be so much wealthier today. And of course, I would submit 99.9% of the people that make those quick math decisions do so without adding up the costs in the interim. Because a decade of costs on a piece of real estate is not $0. And I would submit to you that there is equal, if not more, emotional baggage and frustration to owning a piece of property in a foreign country for a decade. To get to the point where you're like, well, thank God I did that. Now I have so much more equity, worth, I don't know. Anyway, it's not for me, okay? And what is for me is doing this with Gracie. Now with Gracie. I mean, I liked doing this before I met Gracie, but I really like doing it now that I met Gracie. With Gracie, I mean. And but I don't know, I mean, I would love to read, or hear. You can send me a message, voicemail if you'd like, on Facebook. Like, are you like, oh no, Mike, I mean, if I look back 5 years from today, those goals that I set 5 years ago, those 5-year goals I said, I stuck to it and I made it, and it was great, and I didn't really veer much from it, and it was the best thing I ever did, and your experience is that I'm foolish for not having these like 5-year goals that I stick to, and every week I revisit my project plan. I have a Gantt chart for life, and I need to review that. I don't know, again, it's just not who I am, and I'm 53 now, and so one could argue that, or I believe I have enough life experience to say, having not really done that. I mean, so in less than 2 months, I will have 29 years sober, clean and sober. And I can tell you right now that if you've ever been through this process, when you're 1 day, 29 days, 29 weeks, 29 months sober, you have absolutely no idea, and limited belief, quite frankly, that 29 years sober is even something that occurs. Other than the fact that we have these chips that have the number 29 in Roman numerals on them that we share with people that have these annual, you know, things. My point is that that is a big deal in my life. Now, when I started my master's degree, I was pretty much 100% clear that 22 months later I would get a master's certificate, right? I mean, I would get the piece of paper that says I have a Master of Science, right? And so I suppose in that sense, that was a goal that I set, that I stuck to, because there was an assigned syllabus for, hey, this is what you're going to be doing over the next 22 months. How you do it will vary from your neighbor. But if you're a little bit crazy like me, then after getting my first A-, I thought, phew, well, that's never happening again. And I got straight A's for the rest of it, because it's like, what's the point, right? In my mind. So I don't know, goals, setting them, sticking to them, plans. Like, I mean, I think for me, I think I like to set plans for, like, I was gonna say a week, but not really necessarily a week. Like, if something's more than a week out, I pretty much just like put it in my calendar, and then I refer back to my calendar. I don't think about it. Like, there's a day, I think it's between like Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and that's the day that like Gracie's brother Marlon will be receiving the paperwork that we need him to get to then get apostilled, or globally notarized effectively. But like, I mean, I know where we're gonna stay tonight, and I have a reservation, and I know where we're gonna stay Saturday night, and I have a reservation, And I have kind of an idea of where we might stay Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have no, I mean, it's, you know, it's my plan that we'll be healthy and alive and happy. And, you know, but I take a lot as it comes, I guess. Now, I suppose I could, you know, say, well, Mike, here's the justification for that. You've architected a foundation of safety and some degree of means where, you know, I don't really necessarily, I don't at all think about where my next meal is going to come from. In fact, if Gracie were not here, my next meal would pretty much not materialize until I got starving, and then I would finally eat something. Whereas Gracie's a little bit more responsible and likes to eat, you know, 3 meals a day kind of thing, smaller portions, less sugar. But yeah, anyway, so that's my blithering, that's my blathering, that's my discussion, that's my talking into this box from my little version of paradise this morning. It's not even 9 o'clock yet. And with that, I hope you guys are living the dream, and I hope that your plans turn out exactly the way that you want them, if that is what you believe will make you happy. I would love to hear how you set plans, why you do, and you know, what kind of success you've had along the way. Or are you like, oh my God, Mike, I've set plans like dozens of times and it never works out. I finally decided not to. Or you're like, oh no, dude, I set plans, I stick to them, and I'm the happiest guy in the world. I would love to learn how to have an even better life. How much addict behavior is that? Because this isn't good enough, right? This is more than good enough, you guys. More than good enough. All right, man, I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.